Hey everybody, Stu Smith here. Hope you can hear me. If you can't, just leave some mention in the comments before we start really discussing anything. So, hope you guys are doing well. I am doing pretty well myself. Just got through doing upper body day out in the snow and ice. Kind of sucks a little bit, but you know, we haven't been able to work out inside as a large group this year. So we've been outside ever since COVID started. It didn't really bother us during the calisthenics cardio cycle because we're outside running and doing calisthenics anyway and near the pull-up bar. But when you start a winter lift cycle, fall winter lift cycle, you need the weights. So we have been doing outdoor weightlifting all fall and winter. And, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it to the point where I really don't think I'm going back unless it's for a special event like, 1 rep max day or, heavier lifts that require you to have a better footing than, slipping on some ice, which can happen. But yeah, we're getting after it, and the motivated are finding me. They are coming out, doing it, and they're beyond motivated. Motivated's probably, yes, you need to be motivated, but you really have to be disciplined, dedicated, determined, and not make any excuses about showing up, even though it's cold. And it sucks getting up out of bed, when it's still dark and go crush a cold workout, but you get it done. We're getting harder too. So I enjoy people like that like being out there. So it's been a fun group. So like I said, I may not even go back to indoor training whenever all this is over. We'll see. You may see me indoors doing some lifts here next year, but till then, who knows? I will take some questions if you have them. I've been working on a new article and I have some unique stories. I may put in 3 different stories in this article because it all starts off with an 18-year-old kid who enlists before he's ready to enlist. He can't pass a PST, but he enlists anyway, right? So he's constantly failing these PSTs for months, and he finally passes a PST, a month before a ship date, gets a contract, and somewhere in the process of getting through boot camp and going through Bud's prep, he fails a PST and he's out of the program. So now what does he do? He doesn't do Bud's like he wanted to, and he's in the Navy for a couple of years. And I actually have 3 different stories of this happening to people, people who go way too early, and they figure it out along the way. And here's one of them. I'm just going to go through this real quick, and then I'll answer your questions. Here's one of them. One of them decides to do his time, get out, go to college. And I guess he had like a year of college already under his belt at the time. So he did 3 years of college and then went back in as an officer and passed Bud's and is now a SEAL officer. It's one way to do it. A little more mature. You already screwed up when you were young. You didn't let it beat you up for the rest of your life. There's another one where a guy tried to keep getting back. Same situation, tried to keep going back to Bud's, but his year group was full and could never do it. Made E5 in the Navy as a yeoman. Just kept trying, putting in packages every year. And after 4 or 5 years, he just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm never going to be able to go back to Bud's because the year group is full. So the way that works is if you don't make it through Bud's, all these people that have made it through Bud's the year that you enlisted, that is your year group. And if they don't need people in that year group, you may not get back to Bud's. Later on, maybe after the 4 or 5 year mark, you may, but that's going to suck, doing a job you don't really want to do for that long. So anyway, you know what he does? He's an E5. He gets out of the Navy. The next day, he's in the Army. He goes and takes a like a 3-week Army boot camp, how to wear the uniform, still an E5 in the Army, goes through the Army pipeline and is now a Green Beret. Actually went to his graduation. He's loving it, right? And that's another option. The other option is one of the guys in my bud's class, he was an officer, so he went in like 22, didn't make it through first phase for a variety of reasons. But now that guy is an admiral in his job in the Navy, stayed in the Navy for over 30 years now, and is an admiral, 1-star, I think, might be making 2 stars here soon, in the surface community. For some people, that's not a great job, but for many, they love it. And it's a great community that does great things. And, if you like that, I think that's something. He obviously excelled in it. So, there's so many success stories that I've heard out of initial failure. And I guess it's the biggest thing is like, don't let that failure initially define you. You can always get back. And if you can't get back, you can do something else and crush it. So there's my happy thoughts for today. But I'll finish this article and have it posted up there. I have seen some pictures up here. So let me start from the top. I worked up to a 10-minute tread with no hands. That's good. How long should you work up to a 10-minute brick tread? Well, most brick treads are with a group of people. So you may pass a brick back and forth during a 10-minute tread, maybe 30-second hold for each. So I would say practice holding the brick in one hand while treading with your legs in the other hand at the same time, for a minute, and then see how long you can hold it with both hands. See if you can build up to a minute. If you can do 5 minutes with a brick, that's really good. If you can do more than that, obviously, that's even better. But, if you can hold 10 minutes with no hands, that's pretty solid. Most people can't do that, and they fail. Basically, what you need to know is when you're treading water is just know that it sucks. It's vertical swimming. And I think where a lot of people go into treading is like, oh, this is treading. This is easy. So much easier than swimming. It's not. I think a 10-minute tread is just as hard as doing a 500-yard swim. So think about the amount of effort that you put into a good 500-yard swim. That's how much effort you're going to have to put into a 10-minute tread. You got to bring your game face to do that because it's legit hard, especially if you're lean. You're going to have to be constantly kicking. You got to get in shape to do that. You need to be hydrated. You need to have some electrolytes in you because the last thing you need is a calf or a hamstring cramp when you're trying to tread water because you're done, right? And you can fail a test real easy with just getting a cramp. So make sure you're super hydrated and you've practiced it enough. But yeah, that's a good question. I like that. If running on hypertrophy is permissible, are there equivalents for strength cycles? You just have to, we run with strength and hypertrophy cycles all the time. You just have to do it a little bit differently. With calisthenics, you can open up the mileage a little bit, do a lot more volume, try to do a goal pace run for 5 or 6 miles even. You can run a little slower for that distance as well. But, for those phases, you need to make the runs a little shorter, a little faster, work on some speed and agility for a day instead of doing a long or slow distance run. But yeah, I personally like strength cycles. I like sprints and agilities. But then kind of lengthen out those sprints a little bit too and do some quarter miles sprints instead of hundreds or 40s, right? Mix it in there. Try to build some speed up. It's good stuff. Doing any swimming these days? Yes. If you go to my Instagram page, StuSmith50, I post swimming workouts there a couple times a week. I'm in the pool probably 5 days a week. But yeah, our pools are still open. It's just, we're limited to, I think, one person per lane. Sometimes I think if we have the whole pool to ourselves, we can do 2 people per lane. So maximum of 12 people in the pool at a time for a 6-lane pool. But yeah, it's rough. And I'm constantly worried about, the pool getting shut down because, not everybody has their mask on or too close to each other. And you got to watch out with that one because they can shut a pool down in a heartbeat. They have some COVID complaints, or they're spreading COVID around anyway. That's another one. They do some tracing to find out where it came from, and they'll shut that pool down. If we prepared for finishing well for the PST, would grit get us through the rest of the way? I don't think so. Grit is good, and you need it, but if you don't meet the standards for the longer events, you'll never get through the training no matter how tough you are. So, for instance, if you're going to rely on a PST, which is a 500-yard swim without fins and a 1.5 mile run, every week at SEAL training, you're going to be doing a 4-mile timed run in boots on the beach, hard packed sand, but still it's hard enough. And you'll be doing 2-mile ocean swims in the water, in the ocean. So with fins. So if you haven't done any of that longer running at a good sub-7 pace, or doing any swims at that distance with big scuba fins on, you will not do well, right? So you just can't rely on grit to get you through to meeting the standard if you can't meet the standard. It's only so fast your lungs and legs can move, and if you haven't conditioned yourself properly, it's not going to work. Plus there's other things too: pool confidence, obstacle courses, logs and boats. Those are front-ended on the first 4 weeks of buds. If you haven't had any durability training, strength training to make you a little more durable, you're going to get crushed under those. So yeah, you can't just rely on your grit unless you meet the standards, and that helps. What is a good weight for someone at 5'10"? Because right now I am 150, going through BRC. How much weight should I gain? Well, I was 6 feet, 195. I would say most of the guys that were a little shorter than me were in the 180 zone, 175, 185 zone, that made it through. Wouldn't be a bad idea to put on some weight. It's going to make you a little bit more durable for the rucking that you have to do at BRC, and other load-bearing activities. That you do logs there as well. So yeah, never a bad idea to be a little stronger. That goes well with your high repetition calisthenics and cardio. What's the purpose of the SEAL mentor? Should we reach out to them even if we don't have auto-qual scores yet? Just so we know we are doing exercises to their standards. My thing is you really can't do much with the SEAL mentors unless you are in the delayed entry program. So you have to join the Navy. And then once you join the Navy and you're part of the delayed entry program, you have set your timeline, whether you like it or not. You are going to get a ship date. You're going to have to pass the PST before that ship date. And if you don't pass the PST before that ship date, you will not go to buds. So why risk it? Yeah, I mean, the standards are the standards. Do good push-ups, do good pull-ups, run fast and swim fast. Standards are right there on the website. Yeah, they're going to probably call you on a few of your pull-ups if you didn't go all the way up or all the way down. Just that's part of the game. So my advice is every one of my guys crush the PST first, and then they go. Every now and then we get somebody who just needs to go for personal reasons, and they just need to get out of Dodge, and they go a little bit early. And most of the time they wish they had not gone so early, because it kind of sucks going to a PST with the SEAL mentor and fail it. You know, that's a job interview, in my opinion. And do you want to be in the passing group, or you want to be in the failing group? You know, it's up to you. But I know which one I'd want to be in. You're going to be taken a lot more seriously if you can show up and crush those PSTs, because there's more to worry about than the PST. Yeah, you got to crush PST, but take the rest of your time in delayed entry program and start focusing on events that get you through the training. 4-mile timed runs, 2-mile swims with fins, do some weightlifting, but then you got to maintain all your PST scores at a high average. So you don't want to ever go into boot camp borderline failing the PST, because 2 months of boot camp is going to get you out of shape. You go to prep, try to take the PST, you fail it, boom, you're out of the program. Done. So have some cushion in that PST. Could you use your calisthenics cardio book to maintain physical status during? Yeah, absolutely. I actually wrote an article, and in fact, any article that I mention or answer to some of these questions, I've probably written an article about it. I will put in the description on the YouTube live page. If you guys want to go to my YouTube page, for those of you that are on Facebook, you can go there and check it out, and I'll put a link to it. But I wrote an article for military.com on a 2-week quarantine workout for boot camp. Just gives you ideas for things that you can do, you know, when you're stuck inside, not able to do anything, from jump ropes to rubber bands, you know, and of course, calisthenics, endless calisthenics, and then maybe even finding a pull-up bar somehow, you know, at a door. A lot of guys put towels over the door and do pull-ups on a door if they can't actually make a pull-up bar. So there you go. Just curious, have you ever run a marathon? I ran 1 marathon, and it sucked. Mentally, I was just bored. And I mean, I got my goal of under 4 hours. Now, obviously, that's not a good run time. It's, you know, it's not bad either, but I wasn't trying to crush it. And you know, that's where I came up with my slogan, you know, train to compete, not just survive. Because when I was there watching the guys that run marathons for a living, you know, they weren't trying to just finish a marathon. They're trying to beat their last time by a minute, maybe even seconds, right? So quitting for them, or not finishing for them, was not even a part of their brain, right? They were just going to try to go as fast as they could, and they had a strategy to do it. Me, I was just trying to finish. Yeah, I had a goal of a pace, but man, that was a completely different mindset. And then I took that mindset and I was like, I got to be in this compete mode. And that really helped me for my next year of training and going through buds, because I saw it happen. I saw so many people quit, not make it through events because they didn't meet the standard, just because they weren't in that compete mode. And you don't have to compete with everybody in your class, and you're not going to be the best at everything, but you might be best at something, and you can at least strive to be in the top 10%. Because I tell you, when you are in a spec ops training program that yields 20% of its students as graduates, and you have 80% who do not make it, you don't want to be flirting anywhere near the bottom 80%. You want to be in the top 20% of everything, right? And that requires some time. So yeah, that's my thought on marathon. I ran one, swore I'd never run another one, and I haven't. But I came up with a great mindset quote. So for that alone, it was worth it. What's your take on Jeff's hypertrophy program? There's a lot of reps in Jeff's hypertrophy program. In fact, my son and I did it when he was 16, and he put on some mass. I did not. I wasn't trying to put on some mass because I'm trying to do just the opposite. Try to be at my bud's weight for the rest of my life, which, by the way, I was as of last week and still am. 198 at 6 feet tall. And so it's not bad. Feel pretty good. But no, it's a good one. It works if you do it. It's tough. You will do a lot of reps of lifting. But that's how you get bigger. I personally would only do that to someone who also doesn't need to run and swim. But sometimes you need to take a break from running. And that's a good time to do a hypertrophy program. That's kind of like what we do here in the fall and the winter. We take a break from high mileage, though we run a little bit. But yeah, sometimes you need to do a little less cardio if you're trying to put on some mass or eat more. So the way I look at it is, if you're going to run and swim and do something, and let's say you burn 500, 600 calories in that cardio workout, which you probably will if you do it for half an hour or more, you should be adding another 500, 600 calories to your diet in some form of macronutrient. Otherwise, you will not gain weight. You will just continue to lose weight. So you need a little caloric surplus there when you're trying to put on some mass. Any books on stretches? Well, I have one. Where are you? There we go. I have one, Tactical Mobility, part of a 3-part tactical fitness, tactical strength, tactical mobility trilogy. However, every one of my books have a stretching program in it. Not great, not bad, just enough to get you through, get you warmed up, get you cooled down, work on some flexibility, mobility, because if you're trying to swim, you really want to focus on your mobility, because if you don't have a good streamline, your immobility in your shoulders can really affect how fast you swim. So if you can't put your biceps on your ears, you need to work on your shoulder mobility, because that is the streamlined position. In fact, I wrote an article on it just the other day on military.com, and I think I have one on stewsmithfitness.com as well that will help you with that. Let's see. The guys in the comments should check out Stu's Navy SEAL weight training. Well, thank you. How would you balance combatives, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling, while training for buds? Is training every day too much? I think so. I think you need a day off. I mean, look at buds. Buds is only 5 days a week, and you need you get the weekend off. So you need some recovery time in there. I would also do this. At some point, you need to start taking your buds training more seriously than your martial arts training or combatives training, only because you can get injured. I can't tell you how many people I have seen get kicked out of the delayed entry program, missed their ship date, or were officers and missed their ship date, had to delay it another 6 months because they were doing Friday night fights with a bunch of people, broke their hand, dislocated a shoulder, ankles. I've just seen so many injuries come in. I would personally do this. If there's a potential injury that you could get from those activities, I would give yourself at least 6 months of not doing it before you ship. right? You just have to replace it with something else that's a little safer. I would tell you the same thing if you were a triathlete and you're riding a bicycle on the road, right? That's another just accident waiting to happen. Not by your own fault. Could be clipped by a car. Boom. Your training days are over for a little while anyway, if you're lucky. So you just got to get seriously about your training and just avoid injury. You get injured, you're done. So that's my only issue. I love it. I love it, but I like taking days off too. And you can turn those days into a mobility day if you like. On mobility day, I do this. I do 5 minutes of cardio followed by 5 minutes of stretching and foam rolling. I do that 5 times. Very easy. Some days I don't even break a sweat doing it. It's awesome. Some days I turn those 5 minutes into interval stuff and work pretty hard. It's up to you how you want to do it, but you can make a mobility day. You could turn a swim workout into an easy workout on a day off. Just focus on treading and focus on drown proofing events or just pure water confidence stuff, and just loosen up in the water. So I just had a new baby. Any advice on how to maintain fitness routine with a newborn? Woo, that's tough, man. I've had 2 of them myself, or my wife did. It's hard. You with a new baby, it's all about scheduling. You're going to have to get that baby on a schedule, and that the better you can figure that out to where you can almost rest assured that baby will be sleeping from say 5 a.m. until 8 a.m. You might be able to get yourself a hour workout first thing in the morning, right? Or maybe it's later in the day or in the evening. Sometimes I just would get my workouts done when the baby was sleeping, right? And that way my wife could sleep in. I could go get a workout in. I'd come back. I'd be all wide awake. By the time the baby would wake up, I would take him for another hour, keep him next to me while I'm working, feed him if he needs it. And then, my wife slept in another hour, and then she would take him for the rest of the day. So just got to get on a schedule, man. You can make it work. Congrats. It's fun. Should you run while sore in areas such as hamstring and quads? Well, I did yesterday. I did today. Yeah, I did legs on Tuesday, and we did mobility day on Wednesday. So I didn't run on Wednesday, but I ran today, and starting off, legs were pretty sore, but that was just for maybe the first half mile. After that, it was not bad. But the one thing I did not do is I did not do any high speed sprinting running. It was just nice, easy warm up pace. And after, half mile and a mile, then I run another mile in between sets of calisthenics and weights. Legs weren't hurting anymore. So good chance you might be able to work out the soreness. However, if they're really sore, I would just avoid sprinting. If you have a sprint workout scheduled for that day, you may want to really take some time to warm up, do some biking to warm up the legs, do some stretching. Sometimes a little hair of the dog that bit you can work, doing some squats, a few lunges, kind of loosen things up a little bit. See if that helps. But you can, I just wouldn't do it fast. Do you think 60 miles a week is too much? Yes. No need to run 60 miles a week. Keep in mind, it's not just long, slow runs. That's good. I personally don't think you need any long, slow runs. Make sure to do lots of interval work. Striders are incorporated as well. Yes. My only thing is when you run that much, there's usually something that's getting neglected. That's a lot of time just spent running. Could be calisthenics, could be your strength. You're going to crush probably as long as those are fast runs. I've seen guys run 50, 60 miles a week and then they fail the 4 mile time to run because all they were doing was long, slow distance running, and they got good at 8-minute miles, but they couldn't run a 7-minute mile, which will put you in good stead, with 4 mile timed runs. If you can get that in 27, 28 minutes every time, you're going to pass. And you're going to be pretty decent in the runs. If you can do that without a lot of effort, even better. If you want to put a little effort and get 26, that's great. But that's what I would be focused on more. I would focus more on 4-mile runs. In fact, I just wrote an article. It's free, and it's about a running plan that gets you to and through the training. It focuses on 2 different paces. Focuses on a 6-minute pace to crush the PST, so you're sub 6, get under 9 minutes on a 1.5 miles. And it also focuses on a 7-minute pace for your longer runs, 4 miles, 5-mile runs. And it caps you out every week, close to 20 miles, maybe 22 some weeks. But that's it. Now, I also have a running plan that builds you up to 35 miles a week. Some guys need that extra mileage because they probably need to lose weight. And they can replace some of that with some non-impact cardio, like elliptical or whatever. But no, I don't think 60 miles is needed. If you do it and you do it well, that's fine. That's up to you. But just remember, guys that are really good at endurance typically start losing their strength and durability when under loads. So rucking could be difficult for you. Under a log could be difficult for you. Boats on your head could be difficult for you. Just have to weigh that with what you're doing. So what I recommend is assess yourself, assess your strengths, assess your weaknesses, work on your weaknesses. If running is a strength, I wouldn't sweat it. If running is a weakness, you may need to run a little more, and running more is not a bad idea. Just dropping in to say hi. Drop 1.5 mile time from 14 to 9. Nice. 2 months. That's awesome. Now on to the pool. Hey, that's a good job, man. So you discussed 10 minutes without hands being a good milestone for treads. How would you program your treads during the week to reach this? We do it as a warm-up or a cool down. Like every one of our swim workouts either does this. It's a 10-minute swim warm-up. And once you've crushed the PST and you're good at the 500, the 500 is no longer a problem. Let's say you're hitting the 500 in 8 minutes. Use that 10-minute warm-up to do a 10-minute tread. Or you can do the back end of your swim workout and make it a 10-minute tread or a 10-minute swim cool down. It's up to you. So we use treading as a warm-up and cool down. Pretty simple. Let's see. Think of investing in a rucksack. Also, how much would you be rucking prior to buds? Some. I don't think you need to ruck a lot. They do ruck at buds. It's not like if you were an Army Ranger going to RASP, I would recommend rucking a lot. Or Army SF, I would recommend rucking a lot. But I would say get good at 3-4 mile rucks, 40, 50 pounds, maybe a day, 2 days a week. We typically ruck on leg days. And we also swim with fins on leg days. So it's a good way to really top off leg day if you throw in a ruck, and even if you can handle a swim with fins too. It's even better. How do you prevent shin splints when rucking? You know what? You just got to get used to rucking. It's different. Something that I have noticed, if I'm just walking like a power walk and I'm not used to power walking, I will start getting shin pain. However, it's not a shin splint. It's just mostly pain. Could turn into a shin splint if I let it. But what I decide to do is, instead of looking like I'm walking, power walking, with a lot of, walking heel strikes, because that's what you do when you walk. You tend to walk on your heels. Turn it into a shuffle. So you shorten your stride from a run into a just maybe half or 60, 75% of your normal stride into a shuffle, and you hit, and you can probably pick up your pace to like a 10, 12-minute mile, which is well below the standard. Or well, you know what I mean. It's below the minimum standard of 15-minute miles. which is an Army standard, but pretty universal. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would try to make it look more like a short stride shuffle than a power walk. And you'll find that probably your shins aren't hurting. If your shins hurt you when you're running also, then you have shin splints, and you should probably take some time off between running and rucking. I do have a couple articles on curing shin splints. I will put the links for them in here. You can Google Stu Smith shin splint. You'll find an article on it. Should be able to help you. Let's see. Have I worked with Drew Bissett? I know Drew Bissett. Known him for 20 plus years. Lots of their ability to prep people for buds. He does a good job up there. They're tough. They treat you like a bud student. So they're more, I would call them more instructor mode. So when you go there, you're going to get told you're slow and out of shape and ugly. Here, when you're training with me, I'm more of a coach, and I try to fix all those errors through technique, through conditioning programming, try to make you stronger. I will tell you, yeah, you need to speed up. You need to work on your pace and all that stuff. But like I said, they come at it from a different perspective. They're treating you like you're a bud student, and they're buds instructors. I'm treating you like a coach would. That's just my personality. I find it quite exhausting to be the instructor, even though I do play that role every now and then. It's just one of those things that I prefer not to. But it's a good thing to do because guys need it. So I have no problem with their programming, what they do up there. I'm not sure how well they teach everything, but you definitely experience a good buds experience. So there you go. How many black seals are there? Less than 100. Just curious. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. I mean, there are several. Less than 100 would put it at less than 5%. Last I had heard, I thought they were at 10%, but I will have to do some research on that, because it could be 10 or 15% minorities altogether. Name a minority and they're in that group, not necessarily black. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I've known several. But I'm sure that statistic is out there somewhere. You might be able to find it. I'm sure somebody's done an article on it, or there's a website that has that information. Days that I eat poorly, should I still work out? Yes. Will I benefit from it? You might not be at your best, but really your workout today is more an issue of what you ate yesterday. So today's workout may not be, if you do a morning workout, that is. If you do an evening workout, yeah, it could affect your workout performance. But yeah, not everything's going to be ideal. You're not going to have an ideal sleep cycle when you're going through training. You're not going to have an ideal food intake. You're not going to have an ideal training cycle where you're doing split routines, upper body, lower body throughout the week. You're just going to get bombarded by lack of time to do just about anything, and exercises and challenges that physiologically don't make sense when you're going through a selection. You just have to endure it. So try not to do too many bad diet days in a row, or too many bad sleeping days in a row, because it will eventually affect you in the long term. What is the transition like switching to running in sand? It's not too bad. The soft sand is definitely different. Hard pack sand, no difference, I don't think. Soft sand, you just need to really kind of dig in there a little bit, because your feet do sink. And if you can find footprints to step in your journey, it makes it 10 times easier. So it's still going to suck, but it's going to be easier. So consider that. That's the secret to running in sand. Let's see. If I'm already running a 25-minute 4-miler, that's good. That's good enough. You don't need to run any faster. And a 840 on the 1.5 miles, that's good. Don't need to run any faster either. Is there any reason I should be putting in 20-mile weeks? 20-mile weeks is not too much. I wouldn't necessarily go over 20-mile weeks. I would say 15 to 20. Be good at that. And then, work on other weaknesses. It sounds like you're a good runner. If you have other weaknesses like strength, work on that for a little bit. But try to maintain those scores too by throwing in a few runs. And you can do that with a 20-mile a week cycle. 20 miles is not too much. I'm 52 years old and still do 20 miles a week, even during a lift cycle. So it's not that bad. Now you work closely with Jeff Nichols, yes. Currently running his PST Phase 2 running program. Just finished week 4, day 4. Even though I know I'm not completely healed, sore as hell. I don't know what happened there. Did I lose you? Trying to read your stuff there. Maybe run a little better the next day. Take a day off. Yeah, never a bad idea. Take a day off if you need it, or replace any running with a non-impact cardio day. I personally, for instance, if running is hurting me, bad knees, sore legs, I'll do more non-impact stuff that day. Maybe trial run, see how it feels. But there's nothing wrong with running every other day as long as you're doing a really good, pretty decent intensity, high non-impact cardio. Could be swimming, could be biking. That's why, when I was transitioning from a powerlifting football player, I started doing triathlon training. I would run a little, but I would bike and swim a lot. And that made all the difference. When I couldn't run, I was biking and swimming. And then I started getting, better at all of them. And then I'd start throwing bricks in there, which are bike runs. You tie your legs out on a bike and then you go for a run. That was really good. And then we started doing it with swims, so run, swim, runs. And next thing you know, we were getting in really good cardio shape to the point where I was no longer just a strength athlete. I was getting to be a better endurance athlete. And that's what it takes to go through this kind of training. You need to be good at everything, not necessarily great at one thing and to the detriment of others. What would you do any sort of leg training while doing this leg program? And what kind of leg training? I don't know. If he's doing, lifting, you could always warm up with some calisthenics, cool down with some calisthenics, maybe some run and leg PT in there. If you're doing like 1/4 mile intervals, mix them some squats and lunges, throw some hills in there. I think those are fine leg days. During the summer, when we're not lifting weights, we are running hills, bleachers, sprints. We'll do fireman carries, do some rucking. So there's some form, lots of squats and lunges. So there's some form of resistance training. It's just a little different than the way we focus on more pure strength in the fall and winter. So if you had shin splints, what would you do to recover from it, ensure that it doesn't occur again? First of all, you're probably going to get shin splints if you're young or you're new to running. Just happens. So learn to live with it. But eventually they go away. What you have to do is just be careful with not overdoing it to the point where you actually injure yourself to beyond shin splints and you get stress fractures. That's the key. But what I would do is I would foam roll my shins. I would massage them. I would ice them. I would heat them. I would put compression on them, do all kinds of stuff. I'd work on balance, like one-legged activities, because that's going to get the, balance muscles that go into your shin pumping. In fact, I've written a couple articles. You can Google Stu Smith, Shin Splints. In fact, the word recurring is in there too. Recurring shin splints, Stu Smith, shin splint treatment. Stu Smith, I wrote an article with a doctor of physical therapy that had some great advice on StuSmithFitness.com. I'll put these links in the YouTube description once this video renders. You can go in there, but you can seriously go to Google and type in Stu Smith shin splints. See what happens. You'll find several articles. One's on military.com. That's the latest one. And then there's another one on StuSmithFitness.com. Our guys from the UK pass buds. Okay, I'm not sure what language that is, but if you're not an American citizen, you cannot go to buds unless you're there as an exchange program that we have with other countries. So I don't recall any Brits going through buds. We've had many of the Asian countries go through buds with us. I think we had Singaporeans and Koreans that went through, but there's been some South American countries, just allied countries that have gone through buds. I'm not sure about UK ones. So there you go. But yeah, you have to be a U.S. citizen to go through it as an American, or you have some kind of foreign exchange program through your military, as long as we're allies, obviously. All right, a few more minutes. Let's do this. If you're currently running a hypertrophy program while running excess of 30 miles a week, you tell me, what diet would you suggest? You need to eat your ass off. Are you able to gain weight and run 30 miles a week? That's the big question. I have seen it happen. It can happen. So you have to definitely eat extra, because 30 miles a week, let's say you run 5 miles a day, roughly 6 days a week, just a pure caloric wise, you're going to be burning 500, 600 calories during those runs. So that would put you at a caloric deficit if you don't eat an additional 500, 600 calories. Then just to gain weight or to gain muscle, you need to have some more calories. If you're trying to put on some pounds, you need to have more calories on top of that. So, having a 1,000-pound or 1,000-calorie surplus is a little challenging, but if you can keep it at a 500-calorie surplus a day, given the fact that you're probably going to burn 2,000 calories a day just living, probably going to burn another 1,000 working out, add 500 to that, so you're like at 3,500 calories, which isn't too hard to eat. You will probably gain or at least maintain your weight. And if you're doing the right reps scheme, you're going to put on some muscle. So it's just look at it as a calories in, calories out thing. All right, let's see. A couple more questions. Currently in the PJ pipeline. Cool, good job. Videos are a big help. Oh, just saying thanks. Great job. Good job, man. Good luck. It's a tough pipeline. I hope you enjoy it. Really liked your podcast with Jake. You ever going to have him back on? I don't know. Probably. Could. Maybe talk some tactical fitness. Stu, I have a minor hearing loss. How hard is it to get a hearing waiver? I don't know. I'm really not sure. Probably not that challenging, but give it a shot. There are standards to getting in the military, whether it's medical of hearing, seeing, color, whatever. You never know until you have actually gone through the process before they tell you no. A medical professional has to tell you that answer. I cannot. I don't recall seeing anybody with hearing waivers go through, but it doesn't mean they don't happen. Do you think prepping and running for a marathon would drastically affect other elements of fitness? It could. Plan on running a marathon this year, but don't want to get weak in other elements. Well, then don't neglect them. That's the big thing. You may not be a perfectly built runner, but you don't want to be, unless you just want to run and be generally fit. But if you're trying to do any spec ops program or military law enforcement program, you definitely need to have other elements of fitness, good term there, under your belt. So just don't neglect them. I would suggest doing your lifts and your PT workouts followed by a run workout every day. And take a day off too. But yeah, you can do it. You're just going to have to eat more because you're going to burn a lot more calories. Ever had wrist tendinitis? No, I have not. I mean, my wrists were swollen after Hell Week from doing all those reps, but every joint in my body was swollen after Hell Week. But never had any wrist tendinitis. Lucky, I guess. All right. Let's see. Last question. We'll end on this Goggins question. I want to do the 8x8x48 run. Pretty hardcore, but currently only doing 20 miles a week. You could be injured. Yes, that is more than double the amount of miles you normally would do, period. I mean, you're looking at a 48-hour period, as I recall, right? Not sure exactly how they break that up, but I personally would try to build up to that. I mean, yeah, you can mentally push yourself, and I get what he's trying to do with that challenge. Yes, there is a mental aspect to it, but there's also a fine line between mental, tough, and stupid. All right, you can be mentally tough and not get injured, or you can be mentally tough and get injured, and then you can't run for 3 months. Tell me, which one is mentally tough, which one is stupid, right? If it's going to affect your run for 3 months, I'm not sure it's worth the mentally tough training that you're receiving from it. This is my opinion. Especially if you're on a timeline to be healthy and you have to ship out and do this stuff. So that's my 2 cents on that. Nothing wrong with gut checks. I do them all the time. I love them. You just have to be smart and work up to them so you don't get injured when you overtrain, because that's what you're doing. You're just overtraining. And you have to dig deep into finishing. Nothing wrong with that. But the moment that you start borderline injury, running through injury, continue to run through injury until it's a really big injury, you haven't done yourself any favors, in my opinion. Oh, I love this question. Are obstacle course races good preparation? Yes, I love them. I would do them every week if they were available nearby. We actually have a obstacle course, like a 2.5 mile trail run with a dozen obstacles on it. We call it our own little Spartan race. We do it every other week. We love it. I love doing that thing. So fun. So keep going. Is that 35-mile-a-week running program on your website? Yes, it's on my website. It's called the Special Ops Running Program. Builds up to, takes you from 15 to 35 in like 4 or 5 months. Check it out. It's pretty easy download. So, all right, guys, you guys did a good job with questions today. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. If you were around for the whole thing and I didn't get your question, I apologize. If you would, you can send it to me in an email and I'll answer it, or DM me. You can post it in the YouTube discussion where I'll put links to a lot of the things that I mentioned. Also, if you guys use the code military15, military15 at Stu Smith Fitness, you'll save 15% on any program. That's just for you guys that are here today. So I appreciate it. I will chat with you guys later. And once again, you can always email me, stu@stusmith.com, if you have questions and I did not get to them. So I will chat with you guys later. Have a good one.